Hello, girls.
Oh.
Welcome back to another episode of Boys Love Build Up, the show in which we give objective facts and don't share news that we don't know all the information about.
Yes. This is a show where we
level-headedly
recap performances that have nothing to do with, people fighting.
Here's the only thing I'm going to say. Here's the only thing I'm going to say last week's episode. We were not aware of what started everything.
Because it doesn't matter.
But I would say the same exact words to those fans as well.
I would literally say the same thing to if it was jeup stands that was doing this, wumuti Hyun stands that were doing this, literally anyone.
I just think everybody needs to chill out. But that's where we're at.
But that's where we're at.
And we're old.
Yes,
and that's part
true.
of the whole deal.
And I think that's also true. That we're
elderly.
We're in our 30s and
and in K-pop years,
we're dead.
Near death,
yeah,
for sure.
We're in the senior center, girl.
Yeah.
Jay did not pick wumuti and Hyun.
Why do you always go? Do you think you're going to revert when you get old? Do you think you're going to revert back?
I'm going to remember everything from
No. That's not my question. Do you think you're going to revert back to your Filipino
accent? Yeah, absolutely.
In your elderly age? That makes sense.
Because the part of my brain trying to code switch, Adam, I don't know if you know what that means.
Well, actually, as gay people, we're repressed too. The only other thing I want to say is I hope we didn't make anybody really upset. I just want,
because it has, and there are a lot of people. I would
like people to get along.
Yeah.
Ideally.
It's funny because there are a lot of people that were like,
no matter who it is.
Yeah. They're like, yeah, stuff was started to provoke people.
And that's awful.
But that's fine. And that's awful. But that's going to keep happening.
So why am I talking about it?
Yeah.
That's really what it is.
Yeah.
Why did I bring it up? So that's on me. Okay, so this is episode 8. This is the semifinal. This is the quarterfinals.
Honey.
I've never understood. So semi is just the one before the finals, and then quarter is the one before that.
See, we're always learning, even in our old age.
Growth. We're going to talk about these performances from these 5 groups. We'll just go straight in order.
Yeah, and then we'll do our own ranking.
There's
no story anymore.
There's not really a lot of story.
Now we're just let's... You know who these people are. You know the stakes that they're coming into with the show. So now let's just see if they can make it to the end.
First up on the Rasta is HUNMINJAYBIT, which is Sunghun, Minsa, Jae, and Bitseon.
Mm-hmm.
This is the group that Jae formed. And they are going to do a song called Drowning by Woods. Okay?
The Woods. Brennan's best friend.
Oh, really?
Mm-hmm.
Wait, I didn't know that. He's not friends with the other members of 17. Is that what you're saying? First of all, in their little package, Minsa is such a fanboy. He's like,
I've always wanted to work with Jay. I loved Jay. Was my PO1. He was there. Not like us. We weren't there.
And he's a huge fan of Sunghun. It's very cute.
I would be a girl.
Oh, baby, you know.
You
already know.
Oh yeah. Which is really cool. Like we said last week, I think
he's
cool
gotten a great narrative on the show for sure.
I only saw one trainee to make it this far, and I'm glad that it's him because he's definitely shown so much, and he feels the most baked out of all of the trainees, I think.
Yeah, out of the trainees, yeah. Mm-hmm. So they were originally thinking of going into a pop direction, but Bitseon was like, "How about whoop?
We're doing a little too much pop. They know we can do pop.
Yeah, we don't want to rest on our laurels.
Mm-hmm.
We got to get into the finals."
I noticed, in this round, what would you say is the main objective of this round?
Okay, before we started hearing judgments,
talking about the performances and the judgments, because I think everyone was acting to fulfill a specific mission. I feel like everyone made song choices to fulfill a mission for this. That they didn't explicitly say, but they all went with a direction, as opposed to what I feel like they have been making.
So I definitely think they clearly all knew that there was going to be, for the
live
first time, a
audience.
live audience, which I definitely think influenced some decisions as to song choices.
Yeah.
For what, I don't think this challenge was as clear in like what the goal of, what the challenge itself was. Because obviously partly it is the performance in front of fans, but I think what the judges thought it was like, are you a cohesive, group of 4 people? I have my own thoughts about this judging in this episode because I think it's very wonky.
I have my own thoughts about this round in general.
I have a lot of thoughts about this episode.
Yeah.
What did you think of this song?
I thought it was a great song. I think it was the right choice to go like bright rock, like to kind of give, still in like what we've been dabbling with what Jay can do. Because I think they were like, not that they were building up around Jay, but everyone was kind of clear that like there's one kind of singular presence in the song. Because the judges talk about it a lot. Like you have someone, like people's hidden tools that you use. And I think this was just another crayon in Jane. This was just another crayon.
Jay should do drag.
Jay should do drag and it'd be called Jane.
Jane.
But Jayne.
Yes,
not
Jayne.
Jane.
No. Just Jane. And maybe like
Jane Chang. Done.
That's funny.
Yeah. It shows just another skill that he has in his arsenal. But I think the song did a good job of showing everyone's like, this is why I'm still here. I felt like it was more of a showcase of people's individual talent than an actual cohesive performance. It didn't sound bad. I just didn't feel like a full package of like one unified. I think of like Prey of last round.
Yeah.
Like that's such a complete package of like a unified group.
I think so like I think the song choice was really smart.
Yeah.
I think it's a song that builds really well. I think all of them sounded perfect.
Yeah. The fact that Jay had room to belt and then all of a sudden also like do very light in the song. The way Donghun was belting.
I mean, yeah. Minso sounded great.
Yeah.
Minso sounded in a way I don't think we've heard him really sound yet, which was awesome to like discover that. I think that was like his smartest choice was to choose Minso.
Yeah.
Because everyone else, we kind of have an expectation of what it is. So it's nice to have like someone, kind of an unknown so that there's like...
rounds out. Yeah. Like you're still waiting for you don't have an expectation on all 4 members.
Yeah, for sure. I thought the song choice was really smart. I thought it was divided really well, blah, 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 blah. Genuinely the only criticism I would have had about this...
They shouldn't have gone first.
Well, I do think that, but that wasn't their decision. I do think that there wasn't a lot of like harmonies going on. There were like times where they would like go off into duets for a couple, like a line.
It's just like harmonizing.
It wasn't a lot.
Yeah.
That was maybe the only thing. If you think like the point of the challenge is
you sound
to
like
be
a one
team.
Yeah.
But like performance level, I was like, this is amazing. Yeah. And I would have crapped my pants in the audience.
I genuinely...
if I was a judge, I would have given them probably a 95. That's how I felt about this song.
I probably would have given them like a 94. Yeah. 93. Like
I thought 90 was... Well, because they gave him 90. We have nothing to base it off. They're the first one to go.
Yeah.
So then... And 90 was just the highest.
Yes.
Which, okay.
So just setting the bar.
Really. So and then I was like, oh, okay. So the other ones this will just be the highest of the episode, and it
becomes the lowest.
Spoiler alert,
the lowest highest score.
This is the lowest highest score, which is bonkers to me. And then they say later that they got the lowest score for judges.
Yeah, but they got
the combined lowest score.
But they were the second highest in the audience.
Yeah,
because they end up getting second.
They get third. Second is guilty.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So she's just evening out. But that's what I'm saying. I wish I knew what the judges are listening for. But at the same time, I think that's the point of the show. You just have to get swept by the song and if it calls you or not. Like, it's just, you can have a rubric, and I think they do, of like, is it cohesive? Are you a one team?
Yeah. I mean, I guess the only thing is, like, I wasn't like emotionally really pulled by the song in the way that I've been emotionally pulled by some of the songs on the show.
Yeah.
But I don't think this episode had any songs that I was like emotionally pulled by.
No.
So that's
they were like moments, but not enough to like pull the whole performance.
Yeah.
For here, I think it was Donghun for me, really. That was like, whoa.
Oh, it was Jay for me. It was it was Jay.
Honestly, you were gooped at Bitseon's vowels.
I was gooped at Bitseon's vowels for sure.
I remember that.
There was some beautiful vowel work going on.
But I will say, Jay,
I thought it was so good, though.
Yeah, but
That's
it's
why
good.
I was like, I have actual quibbles with later performances that I think
are not
as good as this, but they get higher scores, and I'm very confused. It's very confusing, and especially because this was kind of the only group where they were like, "Oh, here's the negative." They were like the only group that got an edited criticism from the judges.
It is crazy that you don't see the lowest score, but I think that's because people don't want to just vote for like, oh, someone got a 40. They're pulling 3 different places for the score. So it's like
online in-person judges. Yeah.
It doesn't have a lot of staying power for me. I don't remember it as much as I remember. Honestly, just like the top 2 are kind of really the only ones that I remember.
Okay.
The top 2 of the show.
Yeah, no, I understand what you're saying. I remember all 5. But I've got a memory like an elephant, honey.
How dare you offend elephants?
Okay, we're moving on to the next one. This is Partners, the Partners team. Bain, jeup, Jung, and donghun. Jeup, the big shock was that jeup picked... Nobody was shocked that he picked donghun. Everybody was shocked that he picked Jung and Bain. So
and
they were like...
Jung was like, so why us? Like, it was very much like, we're not... Okay.
And apparently jeup has been calculating. He's been in the labs.
Pipettes, bitch.
Yeah. So he's been like formulating what he wants to do, but they come up, which is weird because you would have thought that the way it shakes out that he was like, oh, we got to do Guilty before, but they come up with it in person. I was nervous about this performance.
Me too.
Because I think Guilty's a great song, but I was like, I don't know if there's a ton vocally for them. Not that I'm saying like,
yes,
it's not an easy
song to sing.
There came into some wild stuff in that song, but I was like, for 4 people, how do you translate that?
And yet,
and they just like added riffs,
and they added stuff and made stuff up.
Yes,
to further color that I think was missing in some of the other performances. I think the other performances were attempting to do it, and I felt like, to me, this was the most effective of like adding stuff but still in the same world.
Yeah.
Because I think for this song, it's all levels, right? Like there's the whispering part, there's actually belting part, and then like jeup adding these riffs. The only thing that I would say is that I did feel like Bain and Jung were kind of filling the same role vocally.
Yes, I agree.
That I wish if he hadn't picked either Jung or Bain, that he would have picked someone else with just like a different color to their voice to really feel like it's fully stacked.
Because he picked first, didn't he?
I don't know who, but I do kind of feel like Bain and Jung kind of fulfill the same pop vocal lane for me.
Yeah, the problem is like jeup has such a distinct color that you can't have another, like you couldn't do HUNMINJAYBIT in there. No. First of all, that would have been see HUNMINJAYBIT do Guilty would have been absolutely wild, or like Gwangsok.
Yeah,
that would have been weird.
Yeah,
so you have to balance that. I agree that they were similar, and they kept doing like similar parts in the song.
They were kind of just like going back and forth.
Yeah, but I thought the performance was like really, really well balanced, and the way that they draw out the time that it takes for them to finally do the iconic choreo, and that they just do that and then they don't do any of the rest.
Yeah, no.
Because you got to. I mean, you can't do guilty and then be like, but I'm never gonna show. I mean, that's the point.
I thought it was so funny when they were like, well, our own private personal trainer, Jeup, and he calls them members, and they all start laughing because it's like a members gym.
Ha ha ha.
Fuck you and your body.
That was so...
The homoeroticism, bitch.
That was crazy.
Donghun's like daddy titties were just like...
I don't know what was going on there. I don't know what was going on. That was wild.
I did think it was funny at the end that they were like, Bain, you gotta... Like, even the judges were like, I think you would have scored higher, Bain, if you had abs to show. Which is
that
so
was
funny.
Because
I think it's so funny because Bain was literally like, why am I working out? What are we doing?
I'm obsessed with people who are like hot, but like Bain is like so attractive, but does not go to the gym.
No, he's like
it's just like so naturally, I'm just really pretty.
Yeah.
It's kind of like Ricky. Like Ricky's not a gym boy.
Well, he is now.
What? Recently?
Matthew said in the bubble, Ricky's been going to the gym with me.
No.
He literally said it last night.
Or like a Zhang Hao. Not like Zhang Hao, I would be like,
we'll do a little fives,
or like a little cardio, but it's not going to be like I'm bulking. It's bulking season.
Zhang Hao gives me like Peloton. Actually, Zhang Hao gives me bar.
Oh, pure bar. Sure.
Zhang Hao gives me pure bar. Tere unfortunately gives me Zumba. Like my god. At the Y.
Zumba at the JCC, bitch. Honey. Yeah.
Was there anything?
I really never need to watch people,
dude. The song
work out in. No. Oh. Never need to watch people in the gym ever again.
It's just funny because we started going to a personal trainer, but like our gym isn't hot.
No, we don't have a hot gym.
We don't have a hot
gym. We have
gym.
a very normal gym. And my trainer's not even hot. He's cute, but he's not hot.
Yeah. We have a very geriatric gym, to be quite honest.
We do have a very geriatric gym.
I think Jeup obviously like was great, but I think Donghun is the standout.
Donghun is the standout of the performance for sure.
Like,
I
literally was like, how did this happen again?
Donghun or Jung?
Yeah.
I would go either way.
Because they were like, oh, Jung, this is like finally showing like where
you live. Yeah. So they do the choreo. We have to talk about it. We can't not talk about it.
Mm-hmm. Gutters, bitch. Ridges.
Why?
Canyons.
Why are they so high?
And then the way Jung was like, oh yeah, I have that little thing in the middle.
I have like a valley.
Mm-hmm. Gutters.
But I thought it was good. And I thought they added a lot of vocals that aren't there from what I remember originally.
Yeah.
Enough
they
that
make the song sound so layered, which is great.
Which I was like, oh, yeah. I just thought this was a very smart way to do the song. It quelled any fear I had about being like, I don't know.
But that's why I think this song is a good song choice, because it not only excites the audience, it's a crazy song to sing in front of a live audience, but they also were able to show that they can sound unified.
Quan Rui was getting his life, girl. Absolutely screaming. Good for him.
Good for her.
Okay. Their highest score was 95. And they basically just complimented them. That's all they really did. They didn't even give them like criticism.
Giving All-Stars All-Winners judging.
Yes, 100%.
They don't even... There were constructive criticism, but they're not interested in showing any of that.
No, I'm sure... Yeah, I'm sure there was something.
Yeah.
So they didn't get 100, but yeah. Next, Waterfire. This is Sunyul. This is the Leftovers team. This is Sunyul, Hayun, Wumuti, and Suhwan. And they perform Drama by Espa. And they do a soldier concept with it.
Soldier concept. Hayun is like, this is not physical 100, girl. Why am I doing this? When they first show up in the outfits, I thought they were going to do full girls' generation instead because it's like the genie outfits.
Yeah.
Where they're like the navy. So it's like, oh, slay. Okay. Should we start the sandwich?
Start with what's good.
Yeah.
I loved the rearrangement.
I
thought it was really cool. I thought it was a smart way to rearrange it so that it doesn't sound like aespa's song originally. Like
the harmony sounds so good. It is a 4-part harmony, girl.
Yeah.
And you can really tell that Soohwan was like, yeah, let's deconstruct.
He was in that garage band file, honey.
Booth, bitch.
Yeah. Uh-huh.
Okay, that's the top bun.
That's the top bun. Here's the middle. I did not like this.
No. Something with the weird tempo. Because I think they wanted to do this concept, so it had to feel epic. I think they had to slow it down.
It's crazy to me that they
got 90.
They got 95 too. I did not feel that they were cohesive.
No, I didn't. It sounded cohesive.
I wish I hadn't known the thing about them trying to do Soldier. I mean, I would have obviously gotten that to some extent from just from the outfits. Oh, yeah. But like, I don't know if this is the group of 4 to be like, we're giving mask drag. Do you know what I mean? I just felt like, I thought Wumuti was getting his life. He looked like he was having a great time. I thought Soohwan was really the one who was giving like
acting.
I'm a man.
But
like
that's
blah blah
the
blah.
Thing. Wumuti and Soohwan were doing 2 different interpretations.
I completely lost Sunyul in this performance. Which was a bummer.
Which is a bummer because I really like him. I was coming into it being like, I really want Sunyul to like really take me. And Hyun, I think...
I did not like this.
Hyun, I think he again showed different voices that I'm just happy that the judges keep saying it. Mm-hmm. Because so I don't sound like a crazy person that like, I'm hearing something different, right? They're also saying it. They're like, you are a natural... Like, this is a national treasure, this voice.
Yeah.
I just think there would have been better aespa songs to show vocally.
I just don't. I feel like it's ditto all over again.
If they really wanted to do an aespa song, if they really wanted to do it,
I just don't think
Mother Ning Ning is literally skrelting in her other songs.
I don't understand.
If they wanted to do like Cunty,
I'm not even like my problem is not like
this is why I'm asking like what was the
is
challenge?
The problem? Oh,
well,
yeah.
What was the challenge? Because if their challenge was like, take a song that is exciting for the live audience that they would know.
I think that's the only thing they went with is that like the girls will be gagged in goop that we did aespa.
I really liked the harmonies. It was just everything else did not sound good to my ears.
To my ears.
Yeah, my Dumbo ass ears. Like everything else just felt very put on.
This performance did not give for me. I would have not, spoiler alert, this is the worst performance in my opinion. I just don't think like they did enough. I don't think like again, that tempo is so weird. If you're not doing choreo, like it's so slow.
It's also,
I mean, I love that they obviously didn't change. We talk about it in the reaction, but like I'm glad they didn't change it to like
the girls are in the back.
The girls are in the back. It's not boys, not bros. It's not bros. Dudes.
It's not friends.
No,
it's the girls.
The girls are in the back.
Are in the back.
With my girls in the back.
Girls. And also by slowing it down, it is hyper focused on these words, and it is gibberish.
I don't know if it is slow.
The lyrics.
Is it slower than the original? I think it's the same.
Drama, mama. I bring drama, mama, with the girls, and they were like, drama, mama, da da da. It's like it's.
Yeah, I guess. Yeah.
And because it's so, the words are showing up, and it's literally Abby Dubby, girl. When I was doing Abby Dubby last week, because I was like, oh, this is why like songs have their lanes, okay?
Mm-hmm.
Lane Bryant's. Songs have their lanes, and drama, mama,
mm-hmm.
is a pussy pop anthem.
Yes.
And to extrapolate and to dissertate and to,
Girl, just say talk.
experimentalize.
What are we doing?
Okay. To like do all of these things to it. I just felt like they could have gotten a different song. I mean, we talk about this when we do like jukebox musical stuff. Like taking like a purely a song that has no narrative plot, no storytelling whatsoever. Can you put in a meaning into it? And will it convey? And I think Drama is too much of a pussy pop anthem to kind of put in this concept and then slow it down to try and like sink into the words in their performance. Like, I'm really coming for you with my, like, but some of the words are like, ya da 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 do di da. Like, I was like, it was just, it felt like a bunch of musical theater people performing a pop number for like a showcase.
Yes. I would have respected this a lot more if they had just done an aespa cover and not like, I think they needed to do something to like make it more vocally interesting, but like,
but I was thinking,
just be cunty.
Just be cunty.
Because then it was weird because I felt bad that Soohwan was doing what I think he thought they had all agreed to do. And then
no
Wumuti
one was
is like,
doing like,
yes. And I was like, I mean, slay,
Slay.
go
Like,
off.
you're doing
but like,
something-
you're in different lanes right now.
and it's Ditto all over again. Because they were all doing different things in Ditto. I almost wish, if they just performed this straight. If they just did this like,
Who are you, my father?
what do you mean do this straight? If they were just doing this like an aespa cover and then added the layered vocals, like all of a sudden they would break and then just like give you 4-part harmony.
Yeah.
Cunt.
I don't think this song is worth it to do all that. There are so many better songs in
That's
the world.
why I was like, they could have done it. Honestly, they could have done it with like Next Level because like Miss Girl is.
Yeah, and like Next Level has the really interesting like change halfway through of being a fully different song.
And it's more like harmonic, melodic.
Yeah, and you could play around with that for sure. I'm not even saying that I dislike drama. I think it's a good song, but like,
I was like,
this was not the one for this. Let me say this.
Oh.
There are too many girl groups in Korea for us to be using Ditto and Drama on this show. There are so many fucking girl groups that have so many different songs that you could like play around with that are way more interesting than those two songs.
there are two. Wendy and Solar are right there.
Wendy
girl.
is right there.
Wendy is right there.
How dare you disrespect these people in front of them? Like, I don't even...
Yeah, Wendy's literally right there. She belts in every song, girl. Solar is right there. A group of like 4 vocalists.
What are we doing? I mean, I know they did a... Declamani.
Yeah.
I know that they did it. But like... Why drama? Why drama?
Yeah. And we're not even saying like we don't like aespa, but there are other songs.
And they didn't do the choreo.
If they really wanted to do aespa, they could have picked a different song that was more...
I don't get it.
Yeah.
It was a bizarre decision.
Yeah. Did it kind of feel like Soohwan had like nothing prepared? I mean, he's smart, obviously. He was able to like do something like this, but I really think he didn't expect to be broken up.
I don't think he expected. I think he's really mad. I would assume of all the people who were upset about getting about getting like broken up.
Yeah.
I do think it's Soohwan.
It's Soohwan.
Because he knows jeup is the ticket to make it to the finale.
Yeah.
And he's in the finale, so it's fine.
Yeah.
Or he's in the semifinals, I should say.
And it sucks because even when they were talking a little bit about their leftover groups, he was like, "Is it because I'm not attractive? Because
That sucked.
you didn't pick me in your visual team, basically."
I know. That sucked. Because I think Soohwan's really cute.
He's really cute. He's
really
so
cute.
talented.
So talented.
He needs to stop rapping, but he's so talented. Not that his rap is bad, but it's just like,
yeah.
you keep insisting on being like, and I have this too in the bag. I'm like, we already know.
The bag is empty.
We already know. We already know
The
what's in the bag.
contents of the bag are on the table. Thank you. We've seen it all. I did not like it. So let's finish the sandwich. Mm-hmm. and
Gowns,
say
beautiful gowns, the
gowns.
coats,
I love
the
the
blazers.
outfits.
Oh my god, these
Cool.
blazers!
Yes.
And truly.
No, actually, I do have a real one.
Okay.
They talked about it in the judging, but the vocal fry really.
Oh yeah.
The way it starts is so cool, and I do think the whole performance is like visually interesting. Like,
But you know what that felt?
I like the
felt
production elements.
It is a good beginning, and then you go into a fuller medley of other different songs. Do you know what I mean?
We need to decide the order that they should have actually done this performances when we finish up.
Okay.
Because this was not
This was not
the
should have been
ideal
third.
order. No. Let's go to our beloved Milky Up. This is Jung, Soomin, geonu, Haram, and Sohyung.
Mm-hmm.
And what is there to say?
What is there to say?
What is there to say about this?
Support 4-H. You know
What?
Because there were 4 different milks.
Oh, okay. We had to reach for that one.
Soomin said, to honor my Midwestern roots, I really want to treasure.
RJ's doing the presidential challenge with this reaching, honey. Discovery that this is not a Bruno Mars song. I wrote Uptown Funk Bruno Mars, and then it was like Mark Ronson featuring Bruno Mars, and I was like, what? Have I not known this for like, how long has this song been out? Like 2015, 2014?
Yeah.
Like 10 years? Okay.
Can I tell you my favorite part about the song Uptown Funk? It is that we refer to Michelle Pfeiffer as white gold. And honestly...
And it's not wrong.
And it's not wrong. She's a piece of Caucasian treasure.
And if you've never seen Grease 2, you gotta get on it.
You gotta get on it.
You gotta get on it.
That's
the movie itself, not great.
Michelle Pfeiffer on the ladder?
She's so hot. She's so hot in that movie.
Cool writer, bitch.
Cool writer. A cool writer.
No ordinary boy will do. I need a man that's cool.
And then when she dances off at the end through campus.
Through campus while people are just like talking.
Oh my God, it's amazing. Okay.
Wumuti should have done that.
Imagine doing Cool Writer from the Grease 2 soundtrack. They add Haram to the group. This is a kept group.
Mm-hmm. Haram was like, oh, I gotta be loosey-goosey. I gotta let loose.
I said let loose. Do you show parts of the interim where they check in?
And they got the lowest.
And they got the most amount of people who were like, oh, they're the weakest.
Yeah.
And they didn't show us any of the interim performances. So we don't know like what they saw that would lead them to that. So then they show them like afterward, they were like, we just got to be like happy during it. And I was like, what was your idea before that decision? Because I don't know how you can do this song and be like, Uptown Funk.
Well, no, because when they were watching, they showed a little bit of the clip because they were like, Haram just looks really awkward. Because he's just like, yeah, cool, right? Yeah.
But that's the charm. That's the charm
kind
of it.
The charm.
I mean, this is a show. This is a showstopper.
So the girls were standing, the judges, everyone. And that's when I was like, okay. Because it is not a vocally challenging performance.
It is not. Well, I don't know. I mean, Sohyung, what Sohyung does in the song is crazy.
But that's the thing. They're not doing a lot of crazy harmonies. But
no, they're not.
They are doing kind of like what we did in Drowning, where everyone is showcasing their own voices in a cohesive way. Mm-hmm. That not necessarily means we're stacking harmonies, because that's not the they're not being like.
Before we even start this conversation, I do not think this was the best performance of the day. This was the most fun performance. This absolutely. Is the performance that I, as an audience member, would be like, I'm living for this. Yeah. But like, if you strip it back to what the show is, I do not think this is one of the best performances on the show by far.
It reminds me of like, go with me, okay? Like if you're watching a marathon of like all the best pictures, all the best picture movies, and then there's one comedy.
Are you saying this is Green Book?
I had a piece of shit.
How dare you?
And then you get to the one that has like levity, the one that has like humor.
This is Little Miss Sunshine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then you're like, oh shit, was that so good? Or was it just because everything was so similar that this felt the most refreshing in that?
I agree that they are the most different.
Yeah.
Because it's the most
Uptown,
fun.
funky.
Uptowny, kind of funky.
Yeah.
Jackson's kind of like Mississippi.
It's giving Jackson, Mississippi. Yeah.
So I get that. But I don't think, like, none of these songs are the same. There's only one ballad. There's one rock song. Guilty, and I guess Guilty and Drama are the closest.
K-pop. Yeah.
But, like, even then, they're totally dissimilar songs. So I felt like, yes, I agree that, like, this performance is still, like, the most removed from everything else. But I don't even really know that it's, like, that analogy of being, like, I watched 5 dramas in a row and then a comedy, and I was like, oh, the comedy's great.
No, but the metaphor was,
is there a grading on a curve? Is that what you're saying?
I think there's a little bit of that with the judges, because Seokhwa is like, I judge this high because you got me to actually get up on my feet, which isn't that what music is all about?
It was like he was like in a day where the shooting is this long.
Yeah,
the fact that you got everybody to be like this excited is like a testament to whatever this performance is.
Yeah.
Which I was a little like, well, that's not what you're here to judge. But it's also not what they're not, like, it is all, it's not, there's no way to extract individual elements and be like, well, this is the only thing we're judging on, right? Because otherwise, like, just go in a booth and record a song and then we'll listen to it.
Yeah.
Right.
But
this isn't the Grammys.
But I do think
scammies.
He is saying, like, you're taking into consideration that this is a different round. There's a live audience. Like, you're actually taking everything in to perform something different in this round.
It was of the 5 groups, it was the decision that used its tools the best.
The best. I totally agree. Because
sure.
Seohyung doing all of the bass parts.
I mean, that was
so
brilliant.
Good. Geonu acting like a fool finally.
And the judges being like,
yes, there it is. Okay,
I get it now. Yeah.
Because even Eunkwang was like, that was always our thing, that you're always too much. But here, I actually saw you be able to pull the levels, pull back and forth. So it's like, oh, you are able to do that. My criticisms are, I think, just a little bit more vocal challenge with just like...
I agree, yeah.
They don't really do that many harmonies, so I just want a little bit more.
And the one thing that I really didn't want to talk about, but I do have to address to some degree because we are native English speakers. Well,
oh, yes.
That's my mother tongue. It's your basically acquired mother tongue.
Yeah.
There is like some weird pronunciation things going on, but I can't. But
I think that's just us.
I can just hear it better than anyone else, yes. Right? Like any English speaker would be able to be like...
I think the people that are live audience in there, they're like, yeah, slay, you know?
Oh, for sure.
Yeah. So yeah, that would be one. I don't think they use Haram that much, honestly. He has that one big long note, but I do wish that he was kind of baked in, sprinkled on a little bit more. Because he really isn't that much.
They felt like a team, though.
But but it did feel like a team. It felt like they were still unified. So I only called out the Haram thing because I am looking for and watching for it. But like,
I didn't notice that until you mentioned it later, because I brought up line distribution in the next song.
Oh yeah,
and you pointed out
I do
Haram.
think
Haram.
Soomin is.
I think he I think he like has an innate producer quality.
Totally. And Soomin,
that's really impressive.
If you don't
for someone that young, it's very impressive.
I think you have what it takes to like make your own little group, like.
Yeah.
Really make music in a way that like
totally
I can also help create and conceptualize music through other voices, like you just have such a knack.
Yeah. I think also like him and like, sorry not to be the bitch who keeps talking about how great Geonu is on the show, but like Geonu is the one who in that meeting is like, if you smile, other people are going to smile because of it. And I think Geonu kind of gets performance on a level that
no one else really does.
Definitely, like I don't think the other 3 of them are at the like they haven't performed as much as Geonu has.
But that in itself proves that like I may get feedback in a competition setting that this is too much, but in essence, like I know that is true about performing. that if I'm having fun, the audience will also respond.
Right.
It's like a philosophy for him.
It's so funny. Okay, think about this. Think about this. His criticisms in Island and in this show have been too much or not enough.
And there's
right?
never been an audience.
And there has never been an audience until this
episode.
Isn't that crazy?
He had no audience in Island. He hasn't had any audience since then. Yeah.
But it would just match.
It just matched the
energy the audience is giving, totally. Right? Like.
Yeah.
Okay. I think it's interesting.
I think it's interesting too.
It's like watching. It would be like watching a farce, but you're just watching it in your house silently by yourself.
Yes.
And you're like, okay, it's not that wild. But then if you see it in like a room full of, like in a theater full of people and everyone's laughing, it's like,
that's why Miss Girl keeps getting booked on these opening night shows in the audience, because Adam's a good laugher. People have come out. I have
no idea what you're talking
people
about.
People have come out and said, like, we like inviting you to shows because if it's funny, you'll just laugh and it'll make the whole audience laugh. And it really like ignites.
But if I will not courtesy laugh.
But you do not courtesy
laugh. I do not courtesy laugh. You courtesy laugh. I do not courtesy laugh. So it's very clear when I don't think things are funny too. Because I've now set an expectation.
Yeah.
So there's a couple of shows I've been to where I've been like,
So what else? Anything else with Milky Up?
They get the highest score. They get 96.
And I agree with your sentiment with what Seokhwa did. It's like, you can't deny that is not that's not
of
impactful.
All the performances I wish I could have seen, it's this one.
Yeah.
I wish I could have been in the room for this performance. Right. It looked so much fun.
Yeah.
Everyone had a great time. Everyone knows the song. They do it justice. Like, the vibes are immaculate. This song is so, like, Uptown Funk. I mean, this isn't even, like, interesting to say, but, like, Uptown Funk is obviously a very good song.
Yeah.
So, there's, like, it's just a good time. It's good vibes. This is, like, perfect wedding energy. Like, what you want to do when your grandma gets out on the floor for YMCA. Which is always crazy to me that straight people love the YMCA because, girl, it is about gay men having sex at the YMCA. But it's fun.
Yeah.
It's great. I have no notes.
We've said our notes.
But otherwise, yeah. Finally, we come to Do Re Mi Fa, which is Gwangsak, Junhyuk, Yeowon, and Inhyun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh my god.
Inhyuk.
Oh, I wrote Inhyun. Inhyuk, sorry. And they do Gift, which is a ballad by Park Hyoshin.
So they, in the interim, were voted "quote unquote" top tier, so they could pick the order. And Yeowon was like, "That's rigor girl," because and then they pinned to every other group and were like, well, "We obviously don't want to give top tier to the actual top tier, so let's give it to someone who will actually, I think, can like, we have a better shot in like a position that we would like. So let's give it to like the one that is the most mid."
That was crazy to me, because again, I think they.
I almost wish they didn't do order.
I think but this happens on Drag Race all the time too, where people freak out about the person who gets to set the order, and I just think if it's good, it's gonna be good.
Yeah, I agree.
I think if you're fully confident that you have a great performance to show, then you're gonna have a great performance to show. I get it a little more on Drag Race because it's like I don't want to follow Bianca Del Rio after a roast.
Yeah, so put her at the fucking end because no one should ever go after her.
But like, I do think if this is the order they set up, I understand that their concept for their song was like concert encore. Mm-hmm. Smart idea. I would not have ended with this. I would not have made that my concept. And I would have put this somewhere just in the middle. Just baked it right in the middle.
I would have baked this right in the middle.
I actually probably would have put it at fourth, maybe.
There's some very interesting choices here. I think let's get the sandwich back out again, I think.
Okay.
Maybe
nice
not.
Song.
It's a nice song.
Nice song. I liked the song.
Uh-huh.
And I did like the vibe of the just being like,
Yes, totally.
Bye. Have
Yeah.
a good night. That was great.
Yeah.
I thought the vibes were really cool. I thought it was a smart way to do what they were trying to do.
Gwonsok sounds good. I mean, every time
Once again, shocking no one.
When his voice pops out, it's like, oh, it's just so special.
The audience reaction, his voice was so funny.
Yeah. Okay, the meat. I agree with the judging that they were like, I understand the concept, but the whole idea of music is to kind of like evoke it naturally. And it felt like you were already, the nature of this concept being like, and we're already all together.
They should not have done a ballad.
They felt like really pressured in that way.
They should have really gone for super emotional ballad and really not been the finale of this fucking thing.
Yeah.
That would have been smart. Or like not a ballad at all. Because like this like mid kind of like of course in a concert, in like a genuine concert setting, it's going to work because
shout at the end,
right. It's going to work because you've just spent 2 hours with this group and now they get to like kind of sit back, relax, and like have this like nice moment with their fans or whatever. But like, this isn't what that is.
Yeah.
It's like a cool idea for a concept, but it just doesn't, it actually won't connect in the same way.
No.
And I thought the song was fine, but it wasn't like,
it didn't have peaks and valleys
remarkable.
that had remarkable parts to it.
Right.
And their big thing was like, you did not use your like Gwonsok is there.
They made the whole thing last week about being like, he's the wild horse and we finally tamed him and blah, 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 blah. And now I'm like, okay, now you've gone out back and shot the horse. Like, there's no horse anymore. There's a pony.
Yeah.
What are we doing? Why did we do that to him?
Yeah.
And I get that it's harder. Your line distribution is going to be harder with 4 people than it is with 3, but like, okay. Hello?
Yeah. I felt Yeowon really try. I didn't like the opening and ending. I liked the opening, but
I disagree. I thought I really liked it. This is my favorite performance Yeowon has done.
But this is
very confused about where Pentagon fans are.
Yeah, why are they not voting?
I don't understand.
I don't know what's going on.
I don't know.
I know it's messy over there at Miss Cube, but
oh, shocking. Cube's messy. Alert the fucking press.
But I will say, Yeowon, this is his 4th time doing this like stripped down ending, where it's just him,
and they've all only done like ballads. Yeah. So that's why I'm like shocked that they. I mean, they talked about that they were like, well, we'll just keep doing the same. We've gotten this far, and I'm like.
It's interesting that they are saying that because everyone else took a big swing for this round.
And I think like would have been smarter to take a swing. Your ratio is better in this one than it is in the next one to take a swing.
Totally. Because in the next one, you can't really take a swing.
It's 1 against 5 as opposed to 1 against 4.
Against 1 against 3. Yeah. So my main takeaway here, not enough Gwonsok. It is diluted, bitch.
And what is he wearing?
It was so weird because he's the only one in a blue. So that's why I was like, oh, they're going to do another thing where it's like, it's going to be like Gwonsok's team and then like the others. But no.
And like.
They just all 4 stood in a row.
He's like very tall. He has like very large features. I'm shopping at the big and tall store. I don't know if that's what's going on there. It just like was ill-fitting and kind of looked like a youth pastor energy.
Yeah, I didn't like that it was like fully tucked in.
The blue and the I
wish it was like more flowy because that's kind of what I thought that they were gonna go with. Yeah. That it's like more like honestly like
I mean, they should have really leaned into it and just made like merch shirts and then like worn merch shirts
and like if it's Dore Mi Fa.
Yeah, they should have like
Dore Mi Fa and then the
really
date.
leaned in. I don't know how much they have influence over like what they wear though.
I think they
to that level that they're gonna like make custom pieces.
You never know.
I don't know. I don't know.
4 matching blazers.
You're right. I never do know.
Yeah, I think not enough Gwonsok is my biggest thing. So
this is definitely the one that I remember the least. If we want to talk about memories of these performances,
then what would have been your order? I don't think I really cared either way.
Okay, I would have started with Milky Up for sure.
Oh,
because I think you start off your concert with like Big Bang. I think you started off with Big Bang. You started off with like a huge pow, and then I probably would have done Drowning. The HUNMINJAYBIT song. I would have done Gift, and then Water Fire, and then Guilty.
Yeah, I agree.
Gwangsok's team gets last place. They get 641 points. They get the chop. Fourth goes to Water Fire with Drama with 715 points. Third,
big gap in the scores.
Third, huge gap. Third place goes to what is this song called? Drowning. I can't remember this song called. 754. Second is Guilty with 841, and first is Uptown Funk with 877. And they were first overall.
What would have been your rank?
Guilty would have been my number 1. Drowning would have been my number 2. Uptown Funk would have been 3. Gift would have been 4. And Drama would have been 5. It is interesting that I think both the weakest songs are the ones that had like, you shouldn't have chosen those songs.
Yeah.
It's like song pick problems.
Totally. I agree that I think Guilty was number 1. I think it was the best song of the round to kind of achieve what the round was supposed to achieve, which was one team, and then also give a performance for the audience for the very first time.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think I'll do Drowning as number 2 also.
It's the same, isn't it?
Milky Up, I think I'm going to give Drama 4 and then Gift 5.
Wow.
Because I do think the production that Suwon put in the music itself, makes it better than Gift, which was just they just did the song.
Yeah, that's true. So, but it was just, it was more wrong. I think than. Do you know what I mean? Like, I think like, I see that.
But I do think they
was like really safe.
Yeah,
and it kind of like got in their own way because they just kind of rested on it.
But I do think they were the bottom.
Drama's like a huge swing, and it's like kind of a huge mess.
But at least they had, the music to back up too.
But everybody sounded good in this episode.
Yeah.
Nobody sounded bad.
No one sounds bad anymore. That's the thing. We've built up. Gonna move into the house.
Huh?
We've built up.
Discovering voices, building worlds. The Ampliverse.